If you are hearing this, it is not by accident. There is something different about you that you have never been able to fully explain. Something people around you may have misunderstood, ignored, or even tried to silence. But deep inside, you have always felt it, a quiet awareness that your life carries a meaning beyond what is visible. You are not chosen by comfort. You were not chosen by coincidence. You were chosen by assignment. And if that is true, then your life has been quietly revealing signs all along. There are spiritual gifts that do not look like gifts at first. They appear as struggles, as sensitivity, as isolation, as moments where you felt too aware of everything around you while others seemed blind to it. But what if nothing was wrong with you? What if everything you thought was confusion was actually awakening? In this video, you will discover 10 spiritual gifts that only God's chosen ones tend to carry, gifts that are often hidden, misunderstood, or dismissed by the world. And here is what makes this even more important. By the end of this message, you may begin to recognize that your entire life has been quietly forming a pattern, pointing towards something greater than you ever imagined. But be aware, once you see these signs clearly, you will not be able to unsee them again. Because what you are about to hear is not just information, it is recognition, and it may change the way you see yourself forever. What it means to be a chosen one. Being a chosen one has nothing to do with superiority. It is not about being better than others, more important, or more valuable in a human sense. In truth, it is about assignment, a direction your life takes that is not fully explained by logic, but instead revealed through experience, awareness, and inner transformation. Most people think being chosen would feel powerful from the beginning, but for many, it feels like the opposite. It often begins with a deep sense of being different, even when you cannot explain why. You may have felt out of place in groups, misunderstood in conversations, or disconnected from environments that seem normal to everyone else. While others adapt easily, you may have felt like you are constantly observing life from a slightly different angle. This difference is not always visible. It is internal. A heightened emotional depth, a stronger awareness of energy, truth, and intention. A sensitivity that makes you notice what others ignore, not just in people, but in situations, words, and even silence. Because of this, many chosen ones go through phases of isolation. Not always physical isolation, but emotional separation, feeling like few people truly see them for who they are. And yet, this is not a punishment. It is shaping. Life begins to refine you through experiences that do not always make sense in the moment. Delays, losses, confusion, endings that felt sudden or unfair, all of them slowly building something within you that cannot be created through comfort. The chosen one path is rarely loud at the beginning. It is quiet, internal, and deeply personal. It is a process where understanding is not given all at once, but revealed step by step through life itself. And over time, something begins to become clear. What felt like disconnection was actually preparation. What felt like struggle was actually formation. And what felt like being lost was actually being guided. Gift number 1 to number 2, intuition and energy discernment. Once you begin to understand the path of a chosen one, the first clear signs usually do not appear as external events. They appear internally. 2 of the most common spiritual gifts begin to surface early in life: heightened intuition and energy discernment. Gift number 1, heightened intuition. This is the ability to know without being told. It is not logic. It is not prediction based on evidence. It is a quiet inner knowing that often arrives instantly before your mind has time to analyze anything. You may have experienced moments where you knew something was going to happen before it did. You felt a decision was wrong without being able to explain why. You had a strong inner warning that later proved correct. At first, people around you may have dismissed it. You may have even dismissed it yourself. But over time, something becomes undeniable. Your intuition is not random. It is consistent. It does not always speak loudly. It does not force itself. But when you ignore it, you often learn later that it was right. Gift number 2, energy discernment. The second gift is even more subtle, yet even more powerful: the ability to sense energy in people, environments, and situations. This is where you can enter a room and immediately feel something is off or right without any explanation. You may notice certain people drain your energy instantly. Others make you feel calm or uplifted without speaking much. Some environments feel heavy, even if nothing appears wrong. You can sense hidden intentions behind words or smiles. This ability often makes relationships complicated because you cannot fully ignore what you feel. Even when someone says the right things, something inside you detects the truth beneath it. Many people will call this overthinking. But over time, you realize it is not overthinking at all. It is perception beyond the surface. Together, intuition and energy discernment form the foundation of deeper spiritual awareness. They are the first signs that you are not only reacting to life. You are reading it. Gift number 3 to number 4, emotional depth and spiritual sensitivity. As these inner abilities grow stronger, another layer begins to reveal itself, one that often confuses people the most. Not because it is rare, but because it is misunderstood. Gift number 3, emotional depth. This is the ability to feel life more intensely than most people around you. It is not just about being emotional. It is about emotional depth, experiencing joy, pain, empathy, and connection on a level that feels amplified. You may notice you feel other people's pain as if it is your own. You become deeply affected by suffering, even from strangers. You cannot easily switch off your emotions. You think deeply about things others move past quickly. Because of this, you may have been called too sensitive or too emotional. But what others fail to see is that this sensitivity is not weakness. It is awareness at a deeper emotional frequency. Where others see moments, you feel meaning. Where others move on quickly, you reflect deeply. And while this can feel overwhelming at times, it also creates a rare form of empathy, the ability to truly understand others beyond surface level. Gift number 4, spiritual sensitivity. Alongside emotional depth comes something even more subtle, spiritual sensitivity. This is the quiet awareness that cannot always be explained, but is often felt in moments of stillness. You may have experienced a strong sense of peace in silence or prayer, emotional shifts when entering certain spaces, deep connection to nature, music, or still environments, moments where you feel guided or internally aligned without explanation. This sensitivity allows you to perceive life beyond what is visible, not necessarily in dramatic ways, but in quiet inner signals that shape your understanding of truth, direction, and meaning. However, this gift is often misunderstood. In a world that values logic and emotional control, deep sensitivity can be mistaken for instability or fragility. But in reality, it is the opposite. It is refined perception, the ability to feel what others overlook and to connect with life on a deeper spiritual level. And over time, you begin to realize something important. What once felt like too much emotion was actually depth. And what once felt like weakness was actually connection. Gift number 5 to number 6, dream revelation and inner knowing. As your awareness deepens, something begins to happen that cannot be explained through ordinary thinking alone. It begins in moments of stillness and often in sleep. Gift number 5, dream revelation. For many chosen ones, dreams are not just random images created by the mind. They often carry meaning, emotion, and symbolism that feels strangely real, sometimes even more real than waking life. You may have experienced dreams that feel like messages rather than imagination, recurring symbols, places, or people that carry emotional weight, warnings or guidance that later connect to real situations. Waking up with a strong feeling that something was meant to be remembered. These dreams are often not clear in the moment. They speak in symbols, emotions, and impressions rather than direct language. But over time, patterns begin to appear, and what once seemed confusing starts to feel intentional. It is as if something within you is communicating through a deeper language, one that bypasses logic and speaks directly to awareness. Gift number 6, inner knowing, spiritual clarity. Alongside dreams comes another powerful ability, inner knowing. This is the sudden clarity that appears without logical reasoning. It is not guessing. It is not analysis. It is a strong internal certainty that something is true, right, or about to happen, even when there is no external proof. You may notice making decisions with strong confidence without knowing why, feeling immediate clarity about people or situations, experiencing downloads of understanding in moments of silence, holding convictions that remain steady even when others doubt you. At times, this can feel confusing because it does not follow traditional reasoning. But what makes it powerful is its consistency. Over time, you realize that this inner clarity often proves itself through experience. It is as if understanding arrives before explanation. Together, dream revelation and inner knowing form a bridge between the conscious and the deeper layers of awareness, where information is not always learned, but received. And slowly, you begin to understand something profound. Not all knowledge comes from the outside world. Some of it rises from within. Gift number 7 to number 8, resistance path and divine protection. At a certain point in life, something becomes impossible to ignore. It is the pattern of resistance. Not ordinary challenges, but repeated obstacles that seem to appear right when you are about to move forward, change direction, or step into something meaningful. And yet, hidden within this pattern are two powerful spiritual gifts that most people never recognize at first. Gift number 7, the resistance path, spiritual strength formation. This is the experience of facing constant resistance, not because you are being stopped, but because you are being shaped. You may have noticed plans collapsing at the last moment, delays that feel frustrating but unavoidable, cycles of starting over after setbacks, situations that test your patience, strength, and emotional endurance. At times, it can feel like life is working against you. But over time, a deeper pattern emerges. Every setback removes weakness, and every delay builds something stronger within you. This is not random struggle. It is formation through pressure. Like a structure being reinforced, your inner strength develops through experiences that challenge your limits. What once broke you eventually becomes something you can carry with stability. And slowly you realize you are not being blocked, you are being built. Gift number 8, divine protection, hidden redirection. Alongside resistance, there is another pattern that often goes unnoticed: protection. There are moments in life where things do not happen, and later you realize they should have, but something stopped them. You may have experienced missing opportunities that later turned out harmful, last-minute changes that redirected you away from danger, relationships ending before deeper damage could occur, situations that fell apart for reasons you could not understand. At the time, these moments can feel like disappointment or loss. But with distance, a different truth becomes visible. You are being guided away from what was not aligned with your path. This protection does not always feel obvious. It often arrives as interruption, delay, or redirection. But its purpose is clear in hindsight. What seemed like rejection was often protection. What felt like loss was often redirection. And what felt like delay was often divine timing. Together, the resistance path and divine protection reveal a deeper truth. Not everything that challenges you is against you. Some things are shaping you, and some things are quietly saving you. Gift number 9 to number 10, influence and awakening others. After everything you have experienced, the sensitivity, the intuition, the resistance, and the quiet inner guidance, something begins to emerge that feels different from everything before. It is no longer just about what you receive. It is about what flows through you. At this stage, two final gifts become visible, and they reveal a deeper level of purpose that many chosen ones only begin to recognize later in life. Gift number 9, natural influence. This is not influence that comes from status, power, or effort. It is influence that comes from presence. You may have noticed that. People open up to you without knowing why. Your words stay in someone's mind long after you speak. Your opinion can shift how others see a situation. Your presence can change the emotional tone of a room. This is not something you force. It happens naturally. Even when you are silent, your energy communicates something. People feel it before they understand it. Some are drawn to it, others are challenged by it, but very few remain unaffected. And what makes this gift unique is that it does not require performance. You do not need to try to be impactful. Your authenticity alone carries weight. Over time, you realize something important. You are not just participating in environments, you are affecting them. Gift number 10, awakening energy, spiritual activation of others. This final gift is even deeper. It is not just influence, it is awakening. This is the ability to trigger reflection, awareness, or transformation in others simply through your presence, your words, or your experiences. You may notice people begin questioning their lives after speaking with you. Others feel inspired to change, even if you gave no advice. Conversations with you leave lasting emotional or spiritual impact. You unintentionally push others toward growth or self-reflection. This is not something you control. In fact, many chosen ones do not realize they carry this effect until they look back and see patterns. You are not forcing change in others. You are activating what is already within them. And this is where the purpose becomes clearer. Your journey was never only about your own transformation. It was also about the impact your presence would eventually have on others, not through effort, but through alignment. And in that realization, everything begins to make sense. What you once thought was isolation was preparation for influence. And what you once thought was struggle was preparation for awakening. Hidden pattern behind all gifts. When you step back and look at all of these gifts together, something powerful begins to emerge. At first, they may have seemed separate: intuition, sensitivity, dreams, resistance, protection, influence, awakening. But in reality, they are not separate at all. They are interconnected. They form a single system of development that unfolds gradually through experience, awareness, and transformation. What you begin to notice is that nothing in your life was random. Your heightened intuition was not isolated. It sharpened your awareness so you could perceive truth more clearly. Your emotional depth was not a burden. It was the foundation for empathy and understanding. Your dreams and inner knowing were not imagination. They were forms of deeper communication that bypassed logic. Your resistance path was not punishment. It was refinement under pressure. Your protection was not coincidence. It was redirection away from what could have broken you. And your influence was not accidental. It was the natural result of everything you survived and learned. When seen together, a pattern becomes undeniable. Every challenge was building perception. Every delay was building strength. Every emotional experience was building depth. Every moment of confusion was building clarity. Nothing was wasted. Even the experiences that felt like setbacks were part of a larger formation process, shaping not only how you see life, but how life moves through you. This is why many chosen ones feel that their journey is different. It is not because they are exempt from struggle, but because their struggle is structured differently. It carries purpose, direction, and hidden development. At a deeper level, all of these gifts point to one truth. You are being refined through experience. Not all at once, but gradually, through awareness, contrast, and transformation. This refinement process often feels intense because it does not avoid pressure. Instead, it uses pressure to reveal strength. It uses emotion to reveal depth. It uses uncertainty to reveal intuition. And over time, something shifts inside you. What once felt like chaos begins to look like design. What once felt like pain begins to look like shaping. And what once felt like confusion begins to look like preparation. This is the hidden pattern. Not that life is happening to you, but that something deeper has been forming through you the entire time. Devati, awakening moment/identity shift, approximately 2,000 characters. At this point, something subtle begins to happen inside the listener. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, but it is undeniable. A quiet recognition starts to form. You begin to look back at your life differently, not as a series of random events, but as a sequence of patterns you never fully understood at the time. Moments you once dismissed begin to return to your memory. Situations where you just knew something without explanation, times you felt deeply different, even when nothing on the outside justified it. Emotional experiences that seemed too intense compared to others, doors that closed unexpectedly, and paths that redirected you without warning. And slowly, the confusion starts to loosen. Because what once felt disconnected begins to connect. There is a shift that happens when awareness meets reflection. You start to realize that you are not simply reacting to life like everyone else. You were experiencing it through a different internal lens, one that was constantly picking up signals, meanings, and patterns beneath the surface. And for the first time, that difference does not feel like confusion. It feels like identity. This is the moment where resistance begins to turn into understanding. Where "why is this happening to me?" slowly transforms into "what was this preparing me for?" And in that shift, something powerful changes inside your perception of yourself. You are no longer just someone who has gone through struggles. You begin to see yourself as someone who has been shaped through them. This realization does not require external validation. It does not depend on anyone else agreeing with it. It is an internal alignment, a moment where pieces that never made sense before suddenly feel like they belong in the same picture. And as that picture becomes clearer, one truth rises quietly to the surface. You have been aware of more than you were allowed to understand at the time. Not because something was wrong with you, but because something within you was still becoming ready to see it. And now, that awareness is no longer distant. It is here. Now that you have heard all of this, something important must be understood clearly. These gifts are not a reason for superiority. They are not a title to place you above others, and they are not meant to create distance between you and the world around you. They are responsibility. Everything you have recognized within yourself, the intuition, the emotional depth, the sensitivity, the resistance, the protection, and the influence, is not meant to isolate you further. It is meant to guide you into alignment with who you truly are. But that alignment cannot happen if you continue to suppress what you feel. Many people who carry these signs spend years trying to fit in by ignoring their inner awareness, doubting their intuition, or numbing their sensitivity just to feel normal. Yet every time you suppress it, you disconnect from a part of yourself that was never meant to be erased. The truth is, what you once struggled with may be the very thing that helps you move forward with clarity. Your intuition is not a flaw, it is direction. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it is perception. Your depth is not burden, it is understanding. And when you begin to accept these parts of yourself instead of resisting them, something begins to stabilize internally. You stop forcing yourself to be like everyone else, and you start becoming who you were designed to be. This is not about changing who you are. It is about remembering what you already carry. And as you move forward from this message, take a moment to reflect honestly. Which of these gifts have you already been experiencing in your life without even realizing it? Because sometimes recognition is the beginning of transformation. And if this message resonated with you, it is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of awareness. Step by step, clarity replaces confusion, and understanding replaces doubt. You were never lost. You were becoming aware.